Hi everyone, welcome to the 3 Points Digital discussion series. This session we're going to talk about digital strategy. What is it? What are clients struggling with when they try and implement it? I've got Joey Mascarenas and Phil Mottram, my colleagues here. Guys, we've been talking about digital strategy for a while, and we've made the case, I think, with our clients that it should be inseparable from their corporate strategy. Some folks, I think, have found that hard because they have a different view of what digital strategy is. Again, we're arguing it's an opportunity because of digital disruption to reimagine your business, to reconnect with customers, and to rebuild your organization with different skills and platforms and so on. But we're saying, I think, that that's all as the result of the massive amount of digital change and digital disruption that's happened. What do you think is the resistance to that sort of interpretation of a digital strategy? What are your thoughts?
I think from my perspective, it's about the habits. It's about the past habits. This is the way we've always done business strategy. And so when something from a digital nature comes in from the sideline, a new digital competitor, a new technology, we say, great, let's add that to what we've already been doing, as opposed to thinking completely differently about our strategy and how that impacts us. And when you think about the first point around digital strategy being you need to be able to reimagine your business, many organisations that are struggling with digital transformation are going to be the ones that are saying, we can't reimagine it enough. We want to incorporate it into who we already are.
And I think one of the key reasons why that mindset is being stifled to some extent is the fact that they look at it as an experiment. They want to try something rather than really look at it from a end-to-end perspective. They want to fiddle around with, we want to digitize this thing, or buy this new thing which will make us more digital. And that's kind of really where the problem starts, because the thinking has to be organization wide and more holistic.
I think it's a great point. When people talked about having a separate business unit as the digital group, or I think the speedboat analogy was it tethered to the mothership, and we'll just let that off. Of course, what we've seen is the speedboat goes off on its own and doesn't come back. So I think we're arguing the sort of all in is where most leaders will get the most impact, the most success. But that's challenging, isn't it?
It's easier for the new players because their digital strategy and their business strategy are so intrinsically linked.
Success is online.
That they don't see the difference between the two. But for a more traditional organisation who has always done business planning or always done strategy this way, to come in and completely rethink their business, their identity, is huge.
But even some of the basic principles and tenets that people like Michael Porter, gurus of strategy, set out 20 years ago around what is strategy, a clear differentiation around either you're a premium market maker or you're a volume player. And of course, the disruption is that the likes of these big platform born in the cloud players can be both. They can be great price products with volume, with marketplaces. So I think that is also a mindset shift for many folks who are sitting in the strategy groups of their various organizations and thinking, well, that's something to do with technology. Having said that, I suppose there are folks, of course, who are getting on top of the digital language and understanding the business opportunities. I think one of our challenges might be how to make people feel that their clients will understand what their strategy is. So the whole sort of reconnecting with customers, I think, is why I think we're arguing that the customer is at the apex of this whole point of view.
Well, and who is the customer? Because if we look at and use the example of the financial services industry here in Australia, and you look at what the acquisition of 86400 with by UBank, because one had a great set of products. One had, the kind of traditional business model, and they came together because they individually couldn't make it necessarily. They couldn't scale as fast as they wanted to. And then you look at, to the point about the customer, who is the customer? And we want to be close to the customers. You look at all the buy now, pay later type models, and where the air gap between the person spending the money versus the person providing the service is actually increasing. So how do you shrink that? How do you take away that, and continue to extend your service? I think is so critical, and that's kind of where the holistic digital definition needs to come into place.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I think businesses are not still, I know it's a truism, but they're not close enough to consumers to understand. I was listening to my wife chatting with some friends about their experience of buying ladies' apparel online through a big department store. Mm-hmm. And the confusion in that big department store's business model was they had the brand apparel provider working almost independently and separately. So the whole supply chain was disjointed. Will I get the right size shoes or dress? This is American sizes. There was no continuity in that purchase decision when I was trying to make an online decision, let alone returning the shoes because they didn't fit. So I just wonder about this idea of reconnecting with customers. I know it's a bit of a truism, customer obsessed and so on, but how do we make sure the clients make sure that they do that whole experience-led side to it, Phil?
Look, I think, what just struck me while you were talking is that we've got these sort of three principles of, reimagine your business, reconnect with clients, and rebuild your organization. And I think in that case, people are doing it by, the principles by themselves, not thinking, we're trying to reconnect, we're trying to get the brand provider, front and center with the customer, but then they haven't done the B2C back engineering that makes it a seamless experience. And so you've got to be thinking about those three things always, all the time.
The third one around rebuilding, and we talk about repairing or rebuilding the plane as we're flying. That sort of an analogy of the pilot trying to struggle to keep afloat, or the two engines and. These core capabilities that have to be strengthened. I mean, we've talked a lot about platforms and data and their importance, Joy. I think we're still at a low maturity in most places, aren't we, around that?
Oh, we are, and I think it sort of comes back then to the skills question. Are the people contributing and making decisions, sitting in some of these governance forums, which are happy meetings? Really not being challenged enough to say, should we continue down this path of just building it in-house, or is there something a service that we can acquire or a platform that we can acquire which kind of plugs in, which shrinks the time to market or the time to create the service or really create the product, right? So I think having that discussion around, do we really need to do everything in-house? What can we bring in? And how can I mix and match? So if you look at and how can I connect? Most importantly,
the big plank in rebuilding organization is that resilience and agility of the staff. I mean, the pandemic really accelerated that, but it was happening before the COVID-19, wasn't it? How we get more awareness at the board level of the organization's capacity and skills to shift to digital. Still, we're on a low maturity, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. I mean, I think, and I didn't want to sort of add another topic, but what I'm hearing, throughout the conversation is this notion of digital intelligence. What's underpinning the digital strategy? How am I thinking differently? I've got to have a different mindset. I've got to embrace those principles. I've got to seed throughout my organization that digital culture. I've got to be better at doing something with the data that I have.
So it's very much a leadership issue. Digital mindset shift, a shift in perspective on what business are we really in? Does our business model need to change, or are we tinkering and experimenting on the edge? So big shift on that. Big shift with how we see our customers, how the customers see us, and then what are the capabilities and how do we strengthen the core of our successful business?
Yeah.
That is our argument. I think it's resonating with many, but increasingly I think the evidence is irrefutable. Those that are shifting or transitioning are outperforming the market.
Yeah, and seeing it as bigger.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's a quick discussion on digital strategy. I hope you found it useful. Please don't hesitate to reach out and share your views. We'd love to be in touch, and look forward to the next one in our discussion series.